Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. About 2 hours ago, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden by a narrow 9-vote margin entirely along party lines. Every single Republican voted to start the impeachment process over, well, it's not really clear. No one seems sure what exactly the charge is. And to be clear, the bar for productive discourse out of this historically unproductive Republican majority is as low as it gets. I mean, this is the same House Republican majority that took 15 votes just to elect a Speaker of the House, the same Republican majority that fired that guy after only a few months on the job and left the country without a Speaker, second in line to the presidency for 3 more weeks, the same Republican majority that is constantly at risk of being torn asunder by internal strife led by extremists and political nihilists with cultish devotion to the man who tried to destroy American democracy and is promising to do it again. But even by that low standard, this impeachment inquiry is as transparently cynical as anything they've done yet. They've been at this for nearly 3 years. I mean, from the moment President Biden was sworn in, they were waiting to impeach him. The facts could come later. Here's the thing about many House Republicans it's important to understand. They are just as adrift in the conspiracy fever swamp as the most extreme portions of the MAGA movement they represent. So over the past couple of years, I think a bunch of them convinced themselves that there really was some big smoking gun that would prove that Joe Biden was guilty of grifting money from foreign governments, which I think is the charge, although, again, not clear. Joe Biden, a man who really quite famously was among the poorest men in all of elected government, the federal level, for most of his tenure in Washington. That is the guy who they want you to believe was not just corrupt, but like wildly, unprecedentedly corrupt in front of everyone's faces while serving as vice president, and no one sniffed it out until now. That's the story. That claim, I think it's fair to say, is astonishingly difficult to believe, which is why Republicans have zeroed in on Biden's son, Hunter. Now, that's a man who has very publicly struggled with addiction and dysfunction for most of his adult life. House Republicans have hounded the president's son, Hunter Biden, to the ends of the earth for years. And so he actually showed up to Washington today to make his case for himself.
I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions. Republicans do not want an open process where Americans can see their tactics, expose their baseless inquiry, or hear what I have to say. What are they afraid of? I'm here.
He's right. Republicans don't want an open process because that would risk exposing just how titanically weak their case actually is.
Mr. Biden said that his father had no involvement in his business dealings, period. How do you respond?
That's not what Devin Archer said. There was telephone, phone calls, meetings, dinners, you name it. We know what happened with Burisma in Ukraine in that December 4th through December 9th time frame.
First of all, Devin Archer actually did say that they had nothing to do with the business, so he's got that wrong. But get this. Think about that clip we just played. They are still, in the year of our Lord, 2023, trying to make Burisma a thing. Burisma. Now, in case you've forgotten, which you're forgiven for doing, Burisma is the widely debunked conspiracy theory that Donald Trump sent Rudy Giuliani to dig up in Ukraine. That's the one that Trump tried to threaten Zelensky into pushing publicly, even though it was nonsense. The actual high crime that Trump was impeached for the first time back in 2020, that's the source of it. So here we are, 4 years later, including nearly an entire year with a Republican House majority supposedly investigating these claims, and that's what they got? They got the thrown away wrapper of a scandal from 2020? They've got nothing. Don't take my word for it, though. Ask Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa.
I have no evidence of it, and I'm going to just follow the facts where they are, and the facts haven't taken me to that point where I can say that the president's guilty of anything.
That's Chuck Grassley. That is not some never Trump rhino. Chuck Grassley has been going after this stuff for years, too. If you still need convincing, the case against Biden is so thin as to be non-existent. Even the weatherman on the Fox and Friends couch isn't buying it.
Congressman, exit question for you. Have you found evidence that anybody broke any laws? You don't actually have any facts to that point. There's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally. I heard you yesterday refer to them as a crime family, and this was organized crime. So make it easy for us. What was the crime?
Well, the crime is trading policy for money.
Which policy?
Well, we're going to get into that.
Just you wait. Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight Committee, the guy leading the charge against Biden. That's their captain, my captain. He has done such a poor job outlining his case that he is getting torched by Steve Doocy, of all people. In fact, get this, Comer won't even go on Fox and Friends anymore. He is hiding in his new safe space on an even more MAGA network.
Why would Doocy say, if all the work you've done, that you have nothing? Why do you think that is?
Well, he's had that position from the very beginning. I've quit going on Fox and Friends because of Doocy.
Why would that mean Doocy, father of Doocy, do you like that? If your case is so thin that it won't even stand up to the soft focus scrutiny of Fox and Friends, I think it might be time to admit that you just don't have the goods. But of course, James Comer and Jim Jordan and the rest of the MAGA caucus, I think those folks know they don't have the goods at this point. They understand as well as anyone how flimsy this case is, but they're going to do it anyway, for one reason and one reason only. Donald Trump wants them to do it.
I rise to oppose this perverse, illegitimate effort to do Donald Trump's political dirty work.
We're here today not because of any wrongdoing by President Biden, but because Donald Trump wants revenge. Welcome to the Donald Trump Revenge Show.
This has never been about the truth. This is about avenging Donald Trump.
The problem is they have zero evidence. The only crime is that Joe Biden blew out Donald Trump in the 2020 election.
There is a through line to all of this. Donald Trump will violate the law and Constitution to gain power and to keep it, and Republicans will enable him every step of the way.
Now, you might be saying that was just a bunch of Democrats. If you don't believe them, well, what about MAGA Republican Congressman Troy Nehls of Texas?
Representatives, what are you hoping to gain from an impeachment inquiry?
All I can see is Donald J. Trump 2024, baby.
Thank you, Congressman. There you have it. Remember, Donald Trump is facing the most legal peril of any major presidential candidate in the nation's history. He is very likely to be on trial at least once in the new year, perhaps more times. So his sycophants in Congress are desperate to counter-program with a trial of their own. That is all today's vote was about.